Tonight at 11, a local trooper ambushed and shot wakes up from a coma. More on his condition. Plus, you may be turning on the heat tonight, but how hot will you get when you see the bill?
And in weather after the frosty cold night, a little bit of a warm-up.
Join us for News 10 at 11. Is a water problem making state workers in Albany sick? Plus, your doctor may soon be asking you to take an HIV test. And Steve is your Storm Tracker forecast next.
Live from WTEN, the news team that's leading the way in local news coverage. This is News 10 at 11.
Trooper Donald Baker is awake out of a medically induced coma 3 weeks after being shot in the back. Word tonight from Western New York, State Trooper Donald Baker Jr. from Saratoga County is out of his coma and has opened his eyes, but he hasn't spoken yet. Baker was with Joseph Longobardo August 31st when both men were shot while searching for then-fugitive Ralph Bucky Phillips. News 10's John Craig has our update.
38-year-old Donald Baker Jr. lay in a coma for 3 weeks. He was shot in the back, the bullet piercing his vest. Before he was rushed to Hammond Hospital that night in Erie, Pennsylvania, he was able to use his cell phone to call for help. Baker was with fellow state trooper Joseph Longobardo, both members of the elite mobile response team, when they were shot sniper style while searching for Ralph Bucky Phillips, who escaped from prison in April. He was recaptured September 8th during the largest manhunt in state history. Longobardo died of his injuries. 3 weeks to the day of the ambush, doctors took Baker off his sedation, and that drew him out of the coma. A spokesperson for the state police says that Baker is with his family and has followed them around the room with his eyes. Baker was stationed at the trooper office in Clifton Park along the Northway. His wife remains by his side, as she has since August 31st, the night of the shooting. Now, this news comes while the state police are in the midst of a public relations nightmare. The troopers union is accusing the top brass of gross mismanagement, a charge that the superintendent flatly denies. And now, the president of the Capital District chapter of former New York State troopers says his members, quote, do not support the letter sent under the name of the president of the PBA. It goes on to say that the letter, quote, does a complete disservice to the Division of State Police, including the superintendent, the officers, and members. Live in the newsroom, John Craig, News 10.
Thank you, John. A 15-year-old boy is stabbed during a robbery tonight in Albany. Police say the teenager walked into a housing complex at 680 Central Avenue around 7:30 this evening and asked for help after he was mugged by 3 people. The teenager suffered wounds to his chest but is expected to recover. Officers did take 3 people into custody for questioning, but no arrests have been made. Insight into the personal thoughts of a local imam on trial for aiding terrorism. Today, jurors heard excerpts from Yassin Aref's personal diary, written in 1999, mostly in Kurdistan. Prosecutors had FBI translators read close to a dozen entries in Aref's diary, one in particular detailing a conversation he had in his Iraqi home on January 28th, where Aref talks about goals. Aref writes, number 2, strive to move the war to America and Israel, making explosions there. Number 3, attacking Western targets so we can get people's attention toward us.
This is not a sermon. This is this man's thoughts and ideas and what he believed in his own diary. There's no, I just don't see how oh, he didn't really mean that he was writing a novel. Well, I don't think anybody's going to buy that. I mean, this is something that's absolutely overwhelming, I think.
Yassin Aref and Mohammed Hossein are accused of laundering the proceeds from the sale of a surface-to-air missile. The plot turned out to be a sting by the FBI. A major development in Washington, the White House and Senate Republicans have reached a compromise on rules for the interrogation and prosecution of terror suspects. President Bush says the deal will help save American lives, but some House Republicans say they're not satisfied. He was on prescription muscle relaxants when he crashed his vehicle, killing a Saratoga mother. Tonight, 35-year-old Christopher McNally is headed to prison for the next 2 to 6 years. During sentencing this morning, McNally apologized to the family of 33-year-old Melanie O'Donnell. McNally crossed the center line on Route 9 in January, slamming into O'Donnell's car. Her husband says McNally didn't just take his wife from her family.
It's probably easy to imagine for a lot of people what my life is like without my wife and what my son's life might be like in the future without his mother. But what's harder to understand is the impact that this is going to have on everybody, people that will never know Melanie's touch.
The O'Donnells have a 2-year-old son. McNally also said in court he realizes now that he was addicted to painkillers. Health concerns tonight for state workers after major flooding forces them to relocate to another building. Parts of Tax and Finance Building 9 on the state campus are now sealed off. The big concern, dangerous asbestos possibly in the air. 150 employees had to be moved out when a broken pipe flooded 3 floors there. Officials believe the test results showing asbestos is actually a false positive. In other words, not a true finding.
No health concerns whatsoever in that building right now.
I don't think so. I mean, long term, we're going to have to keep an eye out for things like mold. Obviously, when you have water in carpeting and ceiling tiles and the like, you're going to confront mold issues.
Since Monday, the 150 workers have been relocated to Building 8, which experienced its own sick building problems in the early 90s. It's a move that could help millions of Americans gain access to cheaper prescription drugs. A tentative deal on Capitol Hill would ease the ban on bringing medicines into this country from Canada. Under the deal, people would be allowed to take home a 90-day supply without being stopped by customs agents. Republicans want the ban to stay in place. They say easing restrictions could put lives in danger because there is no way to monitor where those drugs come from. Could an HIV test soon be standard procedure at your doctor's office? Federal health officials want HIV testing to be a routine part of medical checkups for all Americans between the ages of 13 and 64. The Northeast AIDS Council supports the universal screening.
If it is going to become a routine part of medical care, people do need to know that and need to know that the doctor's not singling me out because the doctor thinks I've done something.
The Centers for Disease Control says the test would improve early diagnosis and reduce the spread of the disease. Keeping young people off drugs and away from alcohol. That's the mission of a new Albany County program set to launch next month. The 6 90-minute sessions are hosted by St. Peter's Addiction Recovery Center, the Albany County Sheriff, and the Albany County Stop DWI program. Organizers say the program will teach people between the ages of 15 and 22 years of age about the nature of addiction and how it can lead to personal, physical, social, and emotional problems. When we come back, Steve has a chilly storm tracker forecast. Plus, these cooler nights may have you cranking on the heat, but will the bill this winter leave you hot?
Colony, Bethlehem, a special Thursday night edition. 10, I'm Brian Sinkoff, Jamie Say and I, with all your highlights about 11:15.
Now, your Storm Tracker forecast with Chief Meteorologist Steve Caporizzo.
And welcome back, everyone. It's a cold night, and it will get quite a bit colder. In fact, in many areas right now dropping into the mid-40s. We've had a couple of reports from the Adirondacks in the upper 30s. In fact, Old Forge right now at 38. Here's our forecast first for Albany at 7 a.m., mostly sunny and 40. Partly sunny at noon, 60 with a light south wind. And at 5 o'clock, some increasing high clouds and 67 degrees. So a pretty decent Friday, a little bit milder than it was today. Now, we do have a frost advisory in effect from 1 a.m. till 9 a.m. Friday morning, basically Saratoga Springs northward and all of southern Vermont and western Massachusetts. Not to say there won't be any scattered frost locally. In fact, here's what I'm expecting for low temperatures. Notice a lot of places around Albany, low to mid-30s, and I've shaded the blue areas away from the urban centers that tend to hold the heat, where there may be a scattering of frost. In fact, northern Berkshire, Savoy, 32, Wilmington, Vermont, 31, out in Schoharie, 33, Saratoga, 35, and a little bit warmer at Hudson. But again, away from the cities, there may be a touch of light frost. 50 in Albany, 41 at Glens Falls. Still mild at New York City, 64. Boston at 60. 42 at Pittsfield, 45 at North Adams, 41 in Bennington. And again, this area has a pretty good chance of light frost by morning, so if you haven't protected your plants, it's not too late yet. 41 at Glens Falls and 46 as you head west to Schenectady. Here's our Storm Tracker 3D satellite picture. High pressure for tonight and tomorrow, but notice all the clouds off to the west, and we'll be watching this rain out through the western Great Lakes. It looks like initially this batch of rain will be sliding off to our north and west to start the weekend. So Friday looks like a nice day, a few high clouds increasing during the afternoon, and here's that moisture out to the west. The main push will be north of us. Not to say there won't be a few scattered showers here during the first half of Saturday. Then once this goes by, it may dry out just a little bit Saturday afternoon before things cloud up again for Sunday. Temperatures by tomorrow afternoon, mid to upper 60s with quite a bit of sunshine. All right, your forecast for tonight, 38 with scattered frost. And for tomorrow, partly sunny, a bit milder, 68. 7-day forecast, mostly cloudy Saturday. Scattered showers in the morning, 71. Showers more numerous Sunday afternoon, chance of a thunderstorm, 72. And then drying out Monday, cooler, 61. And nice weather Tuesday and Wednesday in the 60s. So not a washout this weekend. I think we'll salvage at least half the weekend.
All right. Thanks so much, Steve. Well, by now, you know it's chilly tonight, and besides an extra blanket, you're going to need to budget a bit more for heat this entire fall and winter. Those in the know say heating oil costs could rise about 5%, and that's not even taking into account a stretch of really cold weather. The price of a barrel of oil is dropping, but it's all relative to the demand.
We're living in a time of very high demand, extremely high demand coming from China and American situation. And so something happens, the prices adjust. That's a typical characteristic of any market.
They don't all fall at the same rate. It depends on the usage. You know, in heavy drive seasons, gasoline's worth more, and in the wintertime, heating oil's worth more.
Many heating companies are offering programs to lock in rates so they can stabilize some of their costs over the next few months. Well, that does it for the news portion of News 10 at 11, but don't go away. The action is just about to begin. News 10 Sports Director Brian Sinkoff and Jamie Say have all your high school football action coming up on this special edition of News 10 First and 10.
Now, the Capital Region's #1 high school football show. News 10's First and 10.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special Thursday night edition of First and 10. I'm Brian Sinkoff.
And I'm Jamie Say.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe, but we're only 4 weeks away from the start of the postseason, Jamie.
That's right, Brian. And right now, teams are jockeying for playoff position, all hoping to get a spot in the Section 2 playoffs.
Two of those teams with aspirations of the playoffs met tonight. 2-1 Colony playing host to 2-1 Bethlehem. Here we go. First possession, Garnett Raiders strike gold. Furback, huge hole. Heath Furback, there he goes. 60 yards on the score before the fans even sat down. 7-zip Colony. Bethlehem making some nice defensive plays in this one. Tim Duff's pass going through everyone. Watch Joe Kane intercepts it with his knees. Thank you. But too much Furback. You know, I didn't start him on my Section 2 fantasy football team tonight, and I was burned by that move. 226 yards and 3 touchdowns. Here is 80 of them right here on this long run. Colony rolls over Bethlehem tonight, 33-13.
Furback was smoking. Well, how about a big Class AA Division I matchup tonight in Saratoga? Saratoga playing host to Queensbury. Early highlights knotted at 0. Queensbury's Matt Howard in from a yard out. 6-0, visiting Spartans. First quarter, though, later. Watch this. Saratoga on the punt. Watch what happens. It hits the Spartans, and the Blue Streaks would recover. An opportunistic Saratoga, what do? They capitalize. 2 plays later, Vonzel Legal goes 5 yards for the score. 7-6 Saratoga. And the Blue Streaks go on to nip Queensbury 21-19. Saratoga, their 3rd win in a row.
Detroit we go. LaSalle, Albany. Both teams desperate for a win tonight. First quarter, Albany's Kevin Haggerty. Kevin Haggerty going deep, but look at this. LaSalle's Ryan Hunsicker with the pick of the jump ball right there. A little later, LaSalle gets on the board. Jared Henkel, play action pass. Sean Fagan, look at this catch. We slow it down for you. He makes the catch. Bobbles it and scores. You made the highlights there, Sean. Cadets add to it. Brian Bury, the big fullback, scoring easily right there. Number 44 gets in. He had 2 touchdowns. LaSalle cruises. They needed the big win. They got it. 41-zip was the final over Albany. We are just getting started here on First and 10. There were 6 undefeated teams that began the night tonight, Jamie.
But how many would still be left standing at the end of the night? We will have that answer for you later on.
Plus, we'll head to Albany for CBA and Shaker, our Friday night feature on Thursday. It's on the way. Stick around.
Tonight's Lotto drawing is brought to you by the new Ford Fusion.
Welcome back to First and 10, everybody. You know, it's a special Thursday night edition of the big show. You know, Guilderland off to their best start in years, Jamie.
At 2-1, Dutchman fans are hoping for the school's first playoff berth in 7 years. Could the Dutch keep the hot start going? Guilderland on the road against 0-3 Niskayuna. Second quarter, let's check it out. Dutchman in their own territory, and now you see them, and now you don't. Greg Barkham, the quarterback, fakes the handoff. What a good salesman he is. and he will go to the air, and Nick Rinaldi, there he is. When you see him, he would be in the end zone. That's an 82-yard touchdown play. Guilderland goes on to defeat Niskayuna 26-6. The Dutch are 3-1.
Columbia, the only undefeated team still left in Class AA, traveling to Ballston Spa. Scotties come in at 2-1. Third quarter, Ballston Spa up 7-3. They add to it. Dom Monaco takes it himself, 87 yards rushing, 13-3. Still in the third. Columbia's C.J. Kennedy bulls his way in, made it 13-9. Blue Devils trying to take the lead here. Late fourth, Chris Shaver getting sacked. Ballston Spa sacks Columbia's chances for that undefeated season, 13-9. Both teams fall to 3-1 on the season.
When you got a 3-0 football team coming into your place, the record kind of ratchets up the intensity of the game just in and of itself. So, but we're again very, very pleased with the intensity. You never know what they're still high school kids. So you never know what we're going to get. But I'm proud and heck of our guys.
Well, the last time the Shenendehowa football team started off with an 0-3 record was never. Brent Stewart club is off to their toughest start in school history. Tonight, the Plainsmen had to travel west and go up against Baldwinsville. That is a team out from the Syracuse area, and this one a nail-biter to the very end. Shen with the score right here. Jason Bedard, one of his 2 DDs. Plainsmen up 20 in the third. Same score in the fourth. Here comes Baldwinsville. Tim Procopio to Evan Twombly for a first down, and that catch would lead to a Beeville touchdown. The plunge from Jim Landon of Baldwinsville, and Shen's lead cut to 2. The Bees got to go for 2, and they try it right here, but the Plainsmen with a huge stop on defense, the goal line stand, denying the 2-point conversion. Shen wins for the first time this season, defeating Baldwinsville 28-26.
It's now time for our Friday night feature on Thursday, if you will. Tonight's Game of the Week matches up Shaker and CBA. Now, after a season-opening loss, the Blue Bison have rolled off 2 wins in a row, and a big reason is because of this guy. His name is Brian Tortolot, senior wideout, leads the team in receiving. He's a big fan of the New England Patriots. You might recognize his name. He also plays on Shaker's basketball and lacrosse teams. Now, speaking of names you might recognize, how about this guy? CBA's Luke Weaver, the wideout and defensive back, also stars in the basketball court for the brothers. He loves his chicken, and he's down, that's right, he's down with the Grammy Award-winning rap group 3-6 Mafia. Quite frankly, who isn't? Was Weaver and his CBA teammates down with getting a win tonight over Tortolot's Blue Bison? Let's find out. Third quarter, CBA on the move. Jim O'Brien finding Weaver for a nice gain right there. A few plays later, Joe Zappone. Joe Zappone on the sweep. Couple of jukes, one coming right here, and then he has another one right there, and he's in. 12-0. Brothers go for 2. O'Brien, nice play fake, finds Joe Ray Jack. 14-0 now. Move to the fourth. Inside give going to Zappone. Zappone going to score easily. 166 yards rushing and 2 TDs for the senior. CBA shuts out Shaker 21-zip. Big win for the brothers.
And we
So CBA gets a big win over Shaker. Both teams now 2-2 on the season. Jamie, back to you.
Thanks, Brian. Burnt Hills is one of 3 undefeated teams still left in Class A. Tonight, the Spartans hope to make it 4 straight wins. Burnt Hills at home against Mohonasen. If we can check out the highlights, and let's pick it up in the second quarter. Mohonasen's Patrick Barnes connecting with Josh Provost. And watch this. He is off to the races. A 57-yard touchdown reception that cuts the Spartan lead to 7-6. But Burnt Hills counters with a ground attack. David Moore gets the call, and he answers it 14-6. Burnt Hills Spartans not done. Paul Layton finds Moore. He can run, he can catch, and he can score a 29-yard touchdown for Moore. He also rushes for 100 yards. Burnt Hills is 4-0 with a 34-13 victory over Mohonasen.
Another one of Class A's undefeated teams, Amsterdam. 3-0 Rams travel to 0-3 Averill Park in a rematch of last year's AA Section 2 championship game. Second quarter, Andrew Bejan finds a hole and scores, tied at 6 at the half. Second half, Rams pull away. Nick Campo goes deep. Lorenzo Ferrillo, look at this catch right here. He stays in bounds and scores the touchdown. 14-6 Amsterdam. Fourth quarter, they put it away now. Nick Campo going in from 3 yards out. Rams go to 4-0. Big win tonight, 20-6.
Meantime, Lansingburg, the third undefeated team in Class A, hope to stay that way tonight. Knights making the long trip up the Northway to Glens Falls. Lansingburg, ton of weapons, including Mike Pep, the senior, with the score. Knights in control. Kenny Young's also part of Berg's vaunted ground attack. He is special. He shows it here with this touchdown. Kenny Young's 235 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. Now, Glens Falls was down, but they weren't about to give in. Denny Wilhelm lobs it up for Alec Conover for the score. However, Lansingburg was too much. The Knights improved to 4-0 with a 43-26 victory over Glens Falls.
2 more undefeated teams still left. One of them very special meaning to Jamie, talking about the Voorheesville Blackbirds.
Could my alma mater go to 4-0 this year? But first, they'd have to get past undefeated Chatham. Those highlights when First and 10 returns.
Good evening, I'm Kristen Olby. Welcome to Thursday, September 21st, Take 5 drawing being observed by an auditor from KPMG. Tonight's winning Take 5 numbers are 16, 18, 36, 24, and 11. Good luck, New York, and good night.
Welcome back to the special Thursday night edition of First and 10. Now, Jamie's been looking forward to these highlights all night long. Your school hoping to stay perfect tonight.
That is correct, Brian. Voorheesville came into tonight's game against Chatham with a 3-0 record, but the Panthers are also an unblemished 3-0. Something's got to give in this Class C South Division contest, I'll tell you that much. Visiting Blackbirds fell behind 13-0. They come back. Pat Jones gets the handoff and will get the 6. Voorheesville up 14-13 in the fourth quarter. Chatham, though, has an answer. The Panthers, a fun team to watch. Here's why they're never afraid to air it out. Zach Graham to Tucker Lancelin, hauling it in for a big game, and that helps set up this. Graham and Lancelin finish what they started for the touchdown.
Wow.
Very nice. Graham, 135 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. He also ran one in. Chatham improves to 4-0, handing Voorheesville its first loss. 27-21 was the final.
Finally, off to Albany's Bleecker Stadium. Bishop McGinn, Scotia. Here we go. Second quarter, Griffins on the move. Randy Bowers, little screen pass, Isaiah Moore. Going down the sidelines all the way in for the score. He celebrates a little early. Look at that. McGinn in the lead, 13-6. Third quarter, McGinn's Angelo Barcelo. Little guy spins, then scores. Had a couple touches on the night. Made it 26 Griffins. Scotia tried to make it close. Dakota Aker, quarterback keeper, almost hits our photojournalist Sean Kane, and he stays off, and Aker scores. Not enough. McGinn holding off Scotia. Final count tonight, 20-14. So, Jamie, we started out with 6 undefeated teams. Tonight, 4 are left.
That's right. Lansingburg, Amsterdam, Burnt Hills, and Chatham, Columbia, Voorheesville, both knocked off.
More undefeated teams play tomorrow as well as Saturday.
That's correct.
We're not done talking high school football just yet.
When we come back, it's back out to the gridiron.
Hi, we're the Saratoga Varsity Cheerleaders. Stay tuned for the stick of the night.
Welcome back to First and 10. If you missed any of tonight's show,
it's okay. We'll forgive you. You can check it out, the entire show, on our website. Just log on to WTEN.com and click sports.
We are not done with the high school football just yet. Here we go. It is time now for our stick of the night. And why not? Why not give the stick of the night right now? It came from Shaker's Brian Tortolot. We featured him in the Friday night feature, laying out CBA's Joe Ray Jack. Watch it again. Tortolot getting our stick of the night, Jamie.
On to baseball now. Red Sox and the Twins. David Ortiz playing for a little history. One more home run, and the single-season record is his. Ortiz with 50 coming in. Make it 51. He passes Jimmy Fox for the record, and the Red Sox go on to win this one 6-0.
That is it from here. For Jamie Say, I'm Brian Sinkoff. Have a great weekend.